This meeting is being
All
recorded.
right, everyone. Excited to do this with Tommy, who is one of my biggest mentors in life. And the reason why I wanted to introduce you to everyone, for people who don't know who he is, Tommy's been very successful. He was not only has he killed it like in his government job and rising up through the ranks, right? But I was there when you had just one property, and it was pretty inspiring to see you continue to expand and then buy property in Houston and then Jersey City, North Brunswick. So, in this call, you'll people who are interested in real estate, I'm sure you'll learn something. And people who aren't interested in real estate, I think he might change their mind on things just because you're so passionate about it. I think that it'll be really inspiring for a lot of people just to hear about your story, your journey. And so the things we're going to cover today is we're going to talk about like committing to your business. And oh, John's here too. Oh, Ali's here. Samsung's here. I don't know who Samsung is, but looks like we're getting a bunch of people here. Awesome.
Probably somebody calling in.
Yeah. So hey, John. Oh, Gerald's here as well. Looks like nice. We got a whole crew here. Oh, hey,
Awesome.
Ali.
Hey, hi. How are you guys?
Good.
Hi, Ali.
Hey, Gerald.
How you doing?
It's good. Nice
Look at
seeing you, dude. It's been a while.
He has a little bit less hair.
I invited some of my buddies if you guys are, hopefully you guys are okay with that.
Nice.
Yeah, of course.
Sick. Appreciate it. So in this podcast, into this Facebook Live, we're gonna talk about how to treat real estate as a business instead of a hobby, right? We're gonna talk about committing to your passion. This is a lifelong journey. It's not something you try and you just give up like the next month, right? And then we're gonna share having a strategic vision on where you're going so that you're just more intentional and purposeful with where you allocate your time and energy. And then, he's going to share about, how to look 3 to 5 years out. And so you're not cutting the cord early, right? How to stick to it, plan long term, how to have discipline, how to, so overall it can be a very motivational conversation. It might even help you change your brain chemistry and how to build your courage to take that chance, take that leap of faith, and how to squash negativity so that you can continue to reach your goals and your dreams. And then Tommy will also share some of the resources, the conferences, some of the things that has helped him cultivate his mindset. And then we'll go through risk versus rewards and just being intentional about your legacy. Welcome, Tommy.
All right. Thank you so much, Davidson. First off, I want to say thank you so much for writing such nice things about me in your book. It was it was funny because when I picked up your book, I was not expecting you to mention me whatsoever. And then, having you mention it, I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. So for many people, they don't know who I am or whatnot. Basically, I started from a mud hut, meaning that I grew up in Vietnam. The pictures you see on National Geographic, that was me, guys, and you're probably wondering why is he flexing with the golden watches, whatever, right? And you know what? When I was growing up, I didn't have much money and I didn't have the ability to, buy nice things. So now that I do, hey, why not, right? So, it's funny, but, thank you for having me on this podcast. And if there's anything that I can say to help, you guys sort of look at real estate different perspective, love to be able to help you do that. So how I kind of started, David, you want me to start like how I started?
Yeah. Why don't you share with us? Well, mud hut could mean a lot of different things. Like share with us, like where you grew up, what was the environment like? Did you have any mentors? Did you have guidance? And then ultimately, like what gave you the ambition to know that there is life outside of mud huts ultimately?
Sure. So we came here, me and my family, single mom. I came through with a single mom from Vietnam in 1989. We didn't have a dollar to our name. I know, Thatch Wing, he came, at least he got $100 and we had no dollar. And we with just Ho Chi Minh slippers and a pair of shorts, you know. We came to New Jersey and it was damn cold because we thought we were going to like, you know, warm climate or whatever, and it was in New Jersey and it was in the winter time and it was really cold. So it was like a huge shock. My family, we didn't know anything about real estate. And, you know, it's funny because a lot of um, people, minorities especially, are not familiar with real estate. It's only been a recent phenomenon that, you know, minorities started to look at real estate as an investment. And I just happened to be one of those that was the pioneer in real estate. And like, for example, in New Jersey, there's only probably about like 5 Vietnamese broker in New Jersey. Now, there's a difference between sales agent license and broker. So that just gives you a level of like how much involvement, you know, Asians in particular are into real estate. We just don't know about real estate like we do maybe perhaps with the stock market because, you know, many of us are more attuned to the stock market investment versus real estate. So, yeah, man, I didn't have any mentors at all. And, you know, when I went, after I graduated from college, my wife, she was studying for a pharmacy. And, you know, I picked up a lot of different types of real estate books. And for some reason that caught my mind or my attention, because if you look at it in terms of statistics wise, I don't know if you guys know, but 95 or 94% of millionaires are made through real estate. All the industry combined could not make as much millionaires as real estate did, right? So I'm sort of like, okay, I love that number. Okay, so how do I get into that game, right? And so that's what sort of helped me to kind of go in that direction because that's where the big money was being made. And you know, based statistics wise, you know, you'll see that real estate definitely have created the most millionaires out there.
And you know, you had a pretty stable job where you're making have really good benefits, right? How do you go from knowing when, but you know, you're always doing real estate in conjunction with that, right? But a lot of people that were making the type of money and had the accolades, had like the career trajectory that you had, most people would either be afraid to take that leap of faith because like they are doing just as, because you did just as well in your career at GSA, right?
Yes. Yep. So I basically took the safest route you can possibly take, you know. So I graduated top of my class at Rutgers University, and went and got my master's degree. Then I went and I worked for the state for a little bit, about 3 or 4 years, and then I went and I worked for the federal government. And you know, at the feds, I had a very good job. You know, I made six figures. As long as I didn't kill anybody or rob anybody, you know, I had six figures for life. You know, pretty much, right? But it was like a time I kind of worked there, and I felt that I hit a glass ceiling. After you get up to a GS 13, 14, like it becomes extremely political at that point to go any further. Any type of promotion that they had, it went to Washington D.C. And so I didn't really see much growth in that. And also during that time when I was around, you know, I was investing in real estate when I was like around 24 years old. Now geez, like this Saturday is gonna be 42. Uh, but I was investing in real estate at 24 years old, and basically that was sort of my side hustle. And then I eventually, you know, had people coming to me asking for advice and helping them to buy real estate and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I get paid for this? And I got my real estate license. And so it kind of happened organically. It wasn't my intention to kind of go that route or to do that. All I knew was I had to get into the game of real estate because that's where all the big people were making a lot of money, and that's how millionaires were made. So, you know, my interest went that route, but I didn't know how to get there. And so one thing led to another, and you know, pretty much my side hustle made more money than my main hustle. And
Mm,
I was like, you know, I have a master's degree. We have an education, and all of you guys that probably are on this like podcast, think about this, right? You could always find another job, but sometimes opportunities comes and like if you don't grab it or take advantage of that, that will pass. And then you're gonna be kicking yourself and be like, oh my God, why didn't I take that opportunity to do that? Right?
mm,
And I had talked to people in the federal government that, played it safe. And they always told me like, damn, I wish when I was younger, I took the risk, and tried something different versus I've been here for like 30, 40 years and my life is still the same.
mm,
So I sort of saw what was going to happen to me. And that's when I took the leap of faith. Like you already know, but it's a very, very scary situation because, when you have something safe and secure, you don't want to, take out that security blanket per se. But I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't be happy, you know, and I am much happier that I did that, you know.
mm,
It took me about like a few years of just praying, and I joined up
mm,
on YouTube Red. I don't know if you guys know about that, but basically you pay like 15, $16 and you get to listen to motivational speakers without any interruption or commercial. And it really helped me to think positively about like my future plans or goals. Because I feel like I didn't have the mentorship, I didn't have the guidance, but I needed something to help me to think positive in order for me to do what I want to do. And YouTube Red really, really helped me,
mm,
sort of change my brain set and my mindset on how to be able to do that.
mm. Yeah, I mean that's super inspiring, right? Well, one, you were coachable, right? In the sense that like, hey, you kept hearing all these much older people that were further along, and you listen to them, you're like, huh, like clearly there's a lot of people that have regrets, so let me do something about it. Because I think many people hear the same advice, but a lot of people don't take action on it, or they'll just sit on it. Well, like, well, that must be nice, but that's not me. Like, I don't have what it takes. And then you also took the initiative. It sounds like you're really good at taking initiative and like actually going out of your way to just like listen and be as malleable as possible, right? You didn't say like, okay, this is my ceiling. You were able to, and you were also able to have the vision as well, like a long term vision, right? So how do you stay? Because you're probably one of the most disciplined people I know. How do you stay disciplined when there are so many distractions out there? And how do you how how you discern like which people are good to associate yourself with and which people I probably shouldn't be friends with anymore?
That's always a challenge, and I'm not gonna sit here and say like, listen, I know the answers to all of your questions, right? Because I still, as a human being, have to,
Mm,
I still trip and I still fall, I still make mistakes, right? But one
mm,
of the things that really helped me to kind of focus on real estate was that I knew that I am not the smartest person in the world, and I'm not the dumbest person here, right? But all I know is that there are people out there in real estate making millions. Why can't that be me? Like,
mm,
really, why can't that be me? Right? And like about 10 years before, I literally had about $10,000 in my savings account. And how I did it, and many of you might know this, right? Is I basically doubled my cash position every flip. And like I'm helping right now my GC because my GC is my general contractor for those that don't know. But my general contractor at first was very doubtful about making millions, right? But what happened was that he saw me do it right in front of his face because he was
mm,
actually helping me to renovate these homes and then sold it. And in New Jersey, it's a full disclosure state, meaning whatever you bought it for, whatever you sold it for, people get to see, right? And so if you look at this, like Davison, like if let's say, for example, of course you have to have good credit, okay? Now, some
mm,
of you might have a good credit, some of you might have like, let's say, a good job, right? But if you leverage that and let's say you have $50,000, you buy a home, you put $50,000, you buy a home for, let's say, 300,000, right? And you sell it, let's just say $400,000, right? You know that you've gained, like, you only put in $50,000, but you've made 100,000. That's 2x your money, your cash, right? That's like mind blowing. You think about it, right? You're like, hey, listen, buying for 400, and you're putting in, like, now you're selling for 500. That's only 100, but really, technically, you only put in, like, let's say $50,000. You understand what I'm saying? So the cash that you get from that, and so let's say now you have $150,000. Now you take that $100,000 and $50,000 and you buy another property with it, right? From 150 to 300. Now from 300 to 600, from 600 to 1.2. So I did that in 5 flips and made my million, right? So I made my first million in when I was around 38. I couldn't believe that. I was like, this is not rocket science. It's not that hard. Like, what I'm saying to you is really not that hard, and a lot of people can do it, right? Don't get me wrong. There are many pitfalls, and as I am very seasoned now, I'm able to do things like I could buy a property literally, like, while I'm here. I'm buying properties in Jersey, and I can make executive decisions to buy with my portfolio clients right off the bat, right? But it takes a long time before you get that comfortable, right? But the stuff that I work with, or like with real estate, it's just not like that difficult, in my opinion. It's just because I'm very passionate and I love what I'm doing.
What what advice? Because I'm sure one of the most common objections is like, all right, well, what if I just throw it in like an S&P 500 or Vanguard, like low, like an index fund, right? Or some people probably say, what if I use that investment in in private equity or crypto or something like that, right? What would you say to people that say that,
Okay,
the real
I
estate
will I
market?
will tell you, like, Wall Street trains people really to kind of have people invest with them. Like, they will say, oh, give me your money so I can invest. And believe me, I have some money in the stock market as well. But my portfolio, or a lot of my money, is in real estate. Now, let me ask you this. When I was working for the state and the Fed, right? I worked for, like, I would say combined around 11 years, 11 or 12 years, Davidson. You know how much I had in my TSP at that time when I left? Just
Not that
give a
much,
guess.
right?
11 years. Guess how much I made. Well, how much I got.
135,000. 135,000.
Try 70,000.
Hmm.
$70,000 for 11 years of, like, 9 to 5 work. Okay. Now
Hmm.
I took that money. I bought a home in Jersey City. I did some value add renovation to it. All right. I bought the same home for, I think, for $125,000, right? And I literally, the end of that year, I sold it for 278,000.
Wow.
Okay. Like, I made double my money right there and then.
Hmm.
Like, the same thing with regarding, if you know how to invest money in real estate, like, even if it goes by like 2 or 3%, because the amount of the loan is so big or whatever, like the value of the home is so much, that when you put in 100,000, by the time, like, in about 5 years, you can cash up and almost double that position. Not saying that every market is like this, but that's where you have to study that market. That was certainly the market that we were in the Northeast. Like, if people had bought homes, like, let's say 10 years ago or whatnot, they would be very well right now, right? But a lot of people that put the money in the stock market, I'm pretty sure they're like a little bit above. I don't know why the stock market is going pretty nicely right now, but it's not life changing.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then people will say, oh, like you put it in the market, it outperforms real estate. But you're looking at, if you look at it closely, 2% increase on your home value is totally different from 2% increase on your market value in your portfolio on the stock market. You understand? You're following what I'm saying or no?
Well, are you saying because of like the tax write-offs and like all the like
Well, the
efficiencies and all
tax
that?
write-off is one thing, but no, I mean, talking about the number, the sheer number. Like when you buy a home, like let's say, for example, it's $300,000. Let's just say it's $300,000, right? And an increase, let's just say 5%, right? That's $15,000. You understand what I'm
Okay,
saying?
I see what you're saying.
Versus
Yeah.
like if let's say, for example,
Ah.
if let's say you have 20,000 and you put it in the stock market, right? And you put in an index fund, 2.5
Yeah.
or 5% increase of 20,000 is a lot
Hmm.
smaller.
Okay.
You understand now?
Yeah, yeah. Because even so for context, Tommy was our realtor with the house that we purchased, right? Like even in our home, it went up by over 100,000 already, right? And that's only been 3 years. So I see what you're saying, right? Because it's
So
like,
so what was your initial capital down payment? Like how much cash did you put down?
just 30,000.
30,000. So you almost 3x what you put in.
I
Let,
see.
let me let me.
Yeah.
If you had $30,000, Davidson, you put it in the stock market. Do you think you're gonna be at 3x what you put in?
No, definitely not, unless I get lucky.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely not.
yeah.
Or we wouldn't have this conversation. That right there is a real live example of what you think about it. You guys
Mm,
really look at the numbers and think about what people are saying. They want you to put money into the stock market because that's where they make money from you, right? But if you buy a hard asset like real estate, it appreciates, right? But it's like the amount of capital that you had to start with, you got to look at it like I only put in 30,000. I'm gonna walk away
mm,
3x what I put in.
mm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Um, and so, I mean, obviously, this is a topic that's highly debated, right?
Yeah,
And then some people, obviously, crypto is very risky, right? I know some people that made like millions off of crypto, but
right.
that's also harder. I guess there's not enough of a track record to really say like what's better or worse, right? Whereas real estate, it's been around forever, right?
Right. So, if you look at real estate, right? So they say, I think, was it food, shelter, and sex, all right? Like, I think basic human needs, right? Right? So you definitely need food, you definitely need shelter, right? And
Yeah.
the other part, of course, if it wasn't for that, men would be in the caves, right? So, I'm sorry, I'm just being honest, right? They say sex sells, right? But my point is that it's a basic human need, shelter. You agree with that?
Mm,
Now, can we can
yeah.
we live,
That's it.
can we live without crypto?
Yeah, yeah. As of
Right,
right now, but who knows in
right,
20 years if that's the
right.
case.
Yeah. So we can live without that. But my point, like I've seen like my friends have made millions, but I also see my friends have lost millions. I know
Mm, mm,
I know a buddy where he became an instant millionaire in like a couple of months, right? And then
yeah,
like it went terribly wrong because he didn't take it out. He started to
yeah.
leverage that and to buy more things with it. And then
Mm,
ultimately, crypto bottomed out and he lost everything. He lost everything.
mm,
So, I think it's a very volatile risk. Hey, listen, don't get me wrong. I invested in crypto as well, but I put a very small amount that wouldn't hurt me, and it didn't do
yeah.
well. I lost 50% of it, okay? But
Mm.
it wasn't life-changing money for me.
Something I realized you're also really good at discernment, like being able to, I feel like you have good decision making skills, right? How does one get better about discerning like which opportunities to pursue? Like even in like a real estate market, right? How do I know like this real estate market is a good long-term buy and it's not like, because for instance, Vegas, right? I always heard horror stories where people bought in Vegas when it was super high, and then like people became bankrupt because they were just buying like hundreds of
All right.
properties at once.
I will tell you one thing, right? Courage. Have courage in your conviction of what you're doing. Okay. When the Great Recession happened, I don't know if you guys are still remember that, but that was like around 2009, right? 2008, 2009, the Great Recession, and Lehman Brothers, everybody, right, was panicking, right? Like during that time, we picked up like maybe 4 or 5 homes, right, multi families and everything
Hmm.
of that sort, right? And based on the number, I was picking up, like, let's say for example, one of the single family home, I picked it up for 245,000 in downtown Jersey City during that time. And I did my numbers. I I rented it out for $3,000. I bought it for 245, and I put some maybe like 25% down minimum in Jersey for investments, 25% down. I put 25% down, and I was bringing in $3,000 a month. All right. And I look at the background of it is that that property is 8 minutes away from Manhattan. You take the
Hmm.
train into Manhattan. So what happened was when the good times come, meaning that interest rates went, down and things started to stabilize, that house became worth over $1 million. And I had offers of $1.7 million. All
Hmm.
right.
Wow.
Buy when others are scared, and then sell when other people are greedy. I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
you guys heard of that from Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna challenge you guys this, right? All the people right now that are extremely invested in real estate or know real estate right now, I can tell you that they're buying right now.
Hmm.
But what is the mass of people doing right now? They're scared.
Hmm.
They're scared and they're on the sideline, right?
Hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah. It's oh, someone wrote something. Uh, has he seen others fail pursuing the same path he did, and what were the mistakes? Uh, I don't, here, let me post it in the chat. So
Yeah.
I see
So
what you're saying.
So you gotta have really, like, you gotta have courage to, like, look at what you're doing and go with that conviction. If shit, excuse my language, if shit hits the fan, I'm still bringing in $3,000 a month, okay? And my mortgage is $2,000 a month, right? And like
Hmm.
my property tax is 25. I'm still making about $1,500 a
Hmm.
month. Um,
Hmm.
what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? Now, in this climate right now, situation with interest rate being extremely high, right? Many people on the sideline and kind of scared, right? But I can tell you that, real estate is a hard asset. So eventually interest rate will drop. It can't just continue to go up and up.
Hmm.
If you can put enough cash to hold on to this position, you're going to be fine. You're going to actually be very much golden moving forward.
Hmm.
But it's
So,
hard because, like, you see everybody, oh man, I'm just going to wait for interest rates to
hmm.
drop and this and that. But you know what? That's temporary pain. And, if you're going to invest in real estate, you got to look at long-term, projections.
Hmm. Yeah, and also it's because so this is interesting, right? I'm 36 years old, so actually, what your point is true in a sense that a lot of my friends like want to buy, but they're like, but the interest rates are so high, right? So to your point, 95% of them are sitting on the sidelines, right? And a couple of them have bought recently, but they're just afraid because it is high, historical highs for recent years. Obviously, if you compare it to 30 years ago, then this is actually not that bad of an interest rate. But so how do you, because I think you're also good at thinking long term, right? Like how do you tune out the noise and just be able to have more of a long term thinking approach? Because I do think a lot of us, like we're living day by day. We're not really, I feel like in your case, because you are extremely disciplined, you have the fortitude, like you do have a bit more of a risk appetite compared to like your average person, you know?
Yeah, my risk appetite, like in real estate, I would like to say is more like like much higher. Like if you tell me like, hey Tommy, go open up a nail salon, or Tommy, let's open up a restaurant. Like you could see, like I would be like I'm very conservative because I don't know what I'm doing. But
mm,
with real estate, how I
mm,
look at it is this. If you look at a property, what is the land value? First thing and foremost, man can't make land. So what is the land value of that property? Now, if the land value is, let's say, you're buying the property, I'm just gonna keep it simple, $300,000. And if the land value is $170,000, then I look at it's the cost. It's called a cost-based analysis, right? Land value is 170. I'm buying for 300. If I were to build this damn house back in its current condition, how much money would be coming out
mm.
in order for me to build this? And that's how you know if you got something good or not,
Uh, okay.
right? Because even if they go and try to build something back like a home, Davidson, wood prices would be different, right? Nails, screws, labor costs, all of that. So you have to look at that house as like not, oh, I like that house because it's the color or something
Mm,
like that. No,
mm,
from a business standpoint, like what's the
mm,
land value? How much is the construction? And what will the labor costs be in, like, let's say 5 years from now? Do you think labor costs will go down? Do you think that material costs will go
mm,
down? Right? Because that all factors into how much a property is worth.
mm. Well, like, it sounds like you're good at running the numbers. Is there a component of intuition as well? Or are you more, is it like half like pattern recognition and analyzing macro, and then the other half is like, no, like I just know it in my bones that this area in 10 years is gonna blow up.
Okay, so I'll tell you this, right? In real estate, the people that have made the most tremendous impact in my lives were actually people that I've learned on the streets. Okay, the stuff that you learn in the books, people don't get into the weeds and nitty gritty of things, right? They tell you, hey, do this, do that, but they don't get into the nitty gritty that you actually need in order for you to do and jump into it, right? Um, I'll give you an example. There was this guy. I was about to buy this home, and excuse me going into this stage, but this is extremely important because if you love real estate, you love storytelling. Okay, I was about to buy a home. It was on the sheriff's sale, but I couldn't make it that day. So anyway, I see somebody else bought that home, and I had already bought a home that was like 2 or 3 streets down, but I was like, damn, I gotta get that one because it's renting out really well. This one's renting out really well, and it made me good money. And so I walked down that street. There was this white guy, and he was driving a Bentley. Okay, he bought a home for like $300,000, Davidson, and his white Bentley convertible had to be around 250, 300,000. Okay, this white guy, he had like a Polish accent or something like that. So he's smoking this cigarette, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I almost bought this house. I missed the sheriff's sale." And he goes, "Tommy, you would have wasted your time because I already talked to the manager at the bank about this home." Okay, so he bought that home like already before it went up to the public. Okay, so yes, I would have wasted my time. Okay, um, but he's sitting there and smoking a cigarette, and I look at his hands, right? And his hands are like workman, general contractor hands. So he's got Spanish people in the background, like fixing up the homes, and you could see dust coming out like of the window and hammering and bang, 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 and all that stuff. And he's just sitting down smoking a cigarette. So he tells me this story that he is from Long Island, and he came and he bought up like the whole street in Jersey City, like all the homes in Jersey City. And he was similar to what I was under. Like it's like sometimes you're doing things, but you need somebody to reinforce that conviction that you're doing the right thing, right? So he bought these homes for like $20,000, rented it out for $1,000 or two, like 1,500, very small, right? But he was making money on all of these, right? He said he bought out the entire block, right? And all of his Long Island friends from New York, because New York is sort of like, eh, anybody from New York knows this too. Like you guys kind of look at New Jersey like the slums, right? Like so his friends like in New York is like, oh, what are you doing, bro? Like are you wasting money in Jersey, in Jersey City, nonetheless. You remember Davidson, Jersey City had a bad like reputation, you know? So they were making fun of him. Literally, they said they laughed at me. They laughed at me and said, you know, what are you doing wasting your money in Jersey City? And he said like about like now that he's made millions, a lot. I mean, he bought the whole damn block, and I believe the dude because I mean he's driving a $300,000 car, you know. And he said all his friends now ask him, "Can you help me buy a house in Jersey City?"
That's a great story.
Yeah, it is absolutely true story, man. Absolutely
Hmm.
true story. So you learn like from guys like that people sometimes your thought is correct and your vision is correct, but the mass media and everybody else is telling you that
Hmm.
you're wrong. It doesn't mean that you're wrong, but a lot of people will tell you that you're wrong, but it doesn't mean that you're wrong.
Hmm. This is a good reminder because for context, like where we bought it, like when Tommy helped us buy this place, there's supposed to be a train station that's being built in our property, but it's been 5 years since they made that announcement. No train station yet. But recently, all of a sudden, there's all this construction like in our neighborhood now, where the Shake Shack finally opened up, the Chipotle, the Panda Express, right? But to your point, it just made me reminder of like, yo, like this is actually gonna raise the property of our because our whole downtown that they're building, like in my neighborhood, like literally as we speak, there's like cranes everywhere and all this, and we're finally like, whoa, okay, like but it's like my original vision. I was like, oh, it'd be nice for us, like we can rent this out one day, we can buy a place in Princeton. This could be like like supplemental income. But sometimes I lose sight of that, right? Because I'm just thinking sometimes month by month, but I'm just like, oh man, like when is this freaking train station will be built? But whenever it is, it's gonna like that the house value is gonna skyrocket, right? Like it just makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, man. Like, if everybody there's somebody that said like, if it was so easy to be a millionaire or like whatnot, like then everybody would be it, right? So you have to think different than how the mass is thinking.
Hmm. This is another weird question as well. I'm sure you get it a lot, right? There's some perceptions that some millionaires are like very like they're stingy, they don't want to spend, they don't want to tip, like but it seems like you have a good balance where you actually live your life, you take care of your friends, your people, but you also, so you have a good balance. Like where do you find that delicate balance where like you're not saving every like dollar where you can't even go to a restaurant every once in a while versus like being obviously more spontaneous and more impulsive and just like going to Vegas for the weekend and stuff like that.
So, I try to live my life like honestly with happiness, right? So, like the people that you heard of those guys that that fire? You ever heard of that fire thing?
Oh God, yeah, the fire movement, yeah.
I don't know if people have heard about that, but it makes me laugh, brother, because like they're like, oh yeah, I'm cool because like I'm retired now. And then, but then the way that they live their life, they count down to the very pennies of what they spend. And I'm just like, bro, I don't want to live life like that. You know what I mean? Like, I
Mm,
want to be able to live life like in enjoyment and comfortable. And
mm,
it wasn't always like that, Davidson, but now
mm,
that I am a more established, I'm a broker, right? I'm a little bit more established. I don't have to live life that way. Why should you live life like that, where you have to count down to the very pennies? You know,
mm,
um, it just makes me feel uncomfortable just thinking about that. When I go and with my friends to eat, like, hey, listen, I'll cover you, you cover me, later, or whatever my kids want to eat, like let's eat, like
mm,
what is the point of making money if you can't enjoy it with the people that you love?
mm.
That's something that my
Yeah.
brother said to me that I've always lived with, because like
Mm,
now I am able to help my family and like out, and we bought them homes and stuff like that. To them, like to me, like we don't take anything from that. we're like, you guys live and just be happy. Because in the end, later on, like I told you, the value of real estate always goes up in like 20, 30 years because land is something man can't make.
Hmm. On that note, you're also very generous. Like, do you find there's a common theme amongst people who are successful, who are always giving? Because you always treat us like an older brother. You're always taking care of like the younger brothers. Like every time we hang out with you, like you're super generous. Like not only pay for drinks and food, but like you always help us out, right? Do you think there's a common theme amongst people who are like yourself, who are super generous, that are because there's this misperception that like millionaires are greedy. They don't give, like they're just greedy, right? But I actually find the opposite. I think the richest people are more like you, who are always giving, who are always adding value, who are always like generous.
I think it comes from how you're raised, So I was raised like the youngest out of seven, and whatever food that we had, we would give it to our siblings, or like my nieces and nephew. They're younger than me. Man, I had toys that I had to give up because my mom would say, "Hey, listen, your nephew wants that toy," and I gave it up. And then like if we had good food, like we would have to share that with other people. My mom, I think, left me something like a legacy that I always keep in my mind, and I teach my kids now that I have two, is that, you know, I think about like wealth. You can't take wealth with you, right? Just like water, right? If you drink all of this water, like it's dead and it's gone with you. But if you leave
Mm,
some back, if you leave some to people, and you never know what that can do for you. Because how I look at it, Davidson, is that nothing is permanent, right? So let's just say, God forbid, one day I don't have money for food. I've known you for a very long time, and if you should see me and that I need some food, I'm pretty sure you're gonna be like, offer to help me with food, right? So that's the same
yeah.
thing with leaving something behind. Because when and if I'm gone, my children will be here. You won't be able to help me, Davison, but maybe perhaps one day you could help my child, or that's how things can really sort of work full cycle. Like
Mm,
leave something behind is my philosophy. Don't drink all the water. Leave some water behind for other people, so that ultimately, that like
mm.
there's plentiful for other people to be able to enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at life. Um, I'm curious, like, what are some of your clients look like, right? Who are these people? I mean, it's interesting, right? Because in real estate, you kind of rub shoulders with super interesting people, sometimes famous people. We'd love to hear any interesting stories you have with your clients.
Okay, all right. So it's very interesting. First and foremost, I want to say like when I first started my real estate broker career, I didn't really have that much connections, right? Because I'm like the only Asian dude that had a license in Jersey, period, Vietnamese dude. Okay, I didn't know any other Vietnamese person that actually have a license. Very few of us. But one of the things is that my fraternity brother, which is you're obviously involved in it, right? My fraternity brother like really helped supported me. Victor's they opened up a title company, and both of them supported me. I also supported them, and the brothers, would come to me, and I would make sure that they get a good home and that it's a good investment. Because in real estate, you make one bad deal and you're broke. I don't know if people know that, right? You make one bad deal and you could be broke or bankrupt. Okay. Um, so there is a dangerous side to real estate. And that's the part where, there are things that you can't see that I can see. And that's where the protection is needed, or the fiduciary responsibility is needed. And the brothers trusted me with that, and I don't take that lightly. So my fraternity brother definitely like came through and supported my business. And then I was able to reach out to different types of people. First, it also like the second group was doctors and lawyers, right? They're very high net worth individuals, but they just don't have time, or that's not their profession. And so you ask them about like you broke your leg or you have diabetes, and they know everything there is to it, right? But when you ask them about like real estate, and if there's anything that's broken, they're like, oh my God, like I can fix that, like it's done. So I was able to help them at first, and then one thing led to another, and I am helping like a runway fashion model. Like there's like fashion model, like she does fashion week, she's on the runway, she's on magazines, and I'm like, what am I doing? But I was actually she was very interesting girl because she started off with just her father invested in her and believed in her. And that's how sometimes you need to have people in your life that believed in you, right? So her father was like, hey, listen, um, you think you're very good at real estate or design. Her father believed in her. I'm going to give you some money to invest in this property. And that person, or she believed in me enough to work with me. So I found her a value added property, and then she did her first flip. She made, I think at the time it was like $50,000, right? First flip, she made 50. Second one, 100, and then we took that money, we rolled it, and so now she's like I think close to like $600,000 or $700,000. But my goal is to be able to show her that this can easily be done, and she's seen it. So now she's buying property that are up in the echelon of like 800 to $1 million now. But we started off at like around 2 or 300,000. Yeah. So that was one of them. I have other clients that are like executives from Goldman Sachs. They're building a portfolio with me. She started with 0 units, and now she's like at her 11th or 12th units, meaning that different properties. Um, and it's been a great experience. It's very rewarding, Davidson, to be able to help like clients like this where they trust you, and you help them to grow their money, like legit grow their money. And also like I get paid like very well for doing that, you know? So it's like like you can have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I'm also hearing that your word is very like you're a man of your word. Like if you say you're going to do something, like you don't take lightly if someone gives you their trust, like you're going to do everything in your power to deliver on their trust, right? So so what advice would you give to people who maybe don't have as strong of a relationship to their word, and maybe they're a little bit more wishy-washy, or they're not able to follow through sometimes, right? How do you go from someone who's maybe like not as strong with their word to getting to where you are, where you are taken very seriously?
So I always like kind of look at it like, it takes a long time to build a reputation, right? But in 1 minute, you could tarnish and ruin that
Mm-hmm.
reputation. So like, and you read a lot of books, and you'll find out that, you have to guard your reputation with your life. You agree with me on that? And this happened to me this week where, hey, listen, I potentially have a commission of $22,000, just like that, right? I tell my portfolio client, buy this, and it's done. Okay, okay. But I find out that we have a major issue with a tenant in there that hasn't paid, and eviction would be the course of action that's needed. And my client doesn't have a lot of experience with that route. Now, if I tell her to buy this, I'm going to set her up for failure, right? I could take that $22,000, like, hey, I'm good, but that $22,000 is a death trap. Just like everything else that you do, make sure that if you're going to do something, make sure that your name is not tarnished and it's golden. So that's very important. Whatever profession that you're involved in, like protect your reputation. I think that works with every profession, right?
Hmm. No, that's a good story, right? It's I mean, it's clear that you're delivering value for your clients, right? Or else they wouldn't come back to you. And it's pretty inspiring, you said, from 50,000 to 800,000 like portfolio, and how you're able to help them. Um, obviously, like in real estate, like there are so many there's so many even brokers, right? There's a lot of brokers out there, right?
Right.
Like how do you how do you stand apart in a somewhat, I mean, you can argue it's somewhat commoditized, right? In the sense that like, a lot of other realtors.
I'll tell you, very simple. And like, these are things that are very common sense, right? If you look at it, the realtors that you want to work with, first, do they own their own home, right? If they don't own their own home, then why are they selling you a home? They don't even know what it feels like to be in a home or to be a homeowner, right? So
Mm,
first off, I want to work with a realtor that owns their own home. Secondly, if you're a real estate investor and you look at real estate as like not just I'm buying a home because I want to live there and have my kids, because there's a lot of good realtors out there that will help you to buy a home that will for your kid. But if you look at real estate as an investment, you need a person that have invested in real estate, right? That knows like the short-term position as well as the long-term position and all the nuances of real estate to be able to help you to not make those poor decisions or mistakes. That decision right there of me telling my client not to buy this home unless it's vacant, right there saved her a tremendous amount of like losing sleep and stress right
mm,
there. How many realtors will tell their client, don't buy that home because,
mm,
that's going to cause you a lot of stress?
mm.
Now, let me ask you this, Davidson. If I saw something that I didn't really like in that home that, would give you problems in the future, do you think that I would not tell you?
No, you would. You're very honest.
I would, right? I would 100% tell you. And that's the honesty that you need from that realtor. And, being in the profession for many years now, I can tell you many realtors don't look at you guys as people that they need to protect. At the end of the day,
Mm,
they're looking out for their pockets. And you need to have realtors that is not about that. It's about, hey, let
mm,
me help you to make money and grow from that. You know what I mean?
mm, mm.
Like it's strange to me that people would, buy homes with agents that never owned a home before. Like it, like a car is not the same as a home. You want like you know what's the difference?
What do you mean?
Yeah. So I had to really think about this, right? Davison, what is the difference between, let's say, a Toyota Camry
Uh,
and versus like a house, let's say?
oh, you're talking about the depreciation assets?
That's one aspect of it. That's one aspect of it. But I'm gonna hit
Uh,
you like a nail in the head right here, right? Think about this. You can read all the specs of a Toyota Camry, right? How fast it goes, or what is the brake time, or when do you need to change the brakes and this and that, right? Now, let me ask you this. A 2010 Camry in red, gold, or blue, will they all have the same engine?
yes.
They would, right? Let me ask you this. When you look at 3 or 4 homes, like what you have, do they all look the same? Or do they have the same things?
Mm. Oh, yeah, they're all different, right?
They're totally different, right? So
Uh,
So it's not
huh,
like a basic
huh.
commodity. Like, for
Ah,
example, a
that's
home,
deep.
yeah, bro, like a home located in a double yellow lane. You ever heard of that? Double yellow lane?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so one of my buddy thought that, hey, listen, I'll buy this home. I'm gonna flip it and make big money, right? He bought the damn home in front of a double yellow lane. That means that there is high traffic coming through there,
Ah,
right?
yeah.
Right? So when there's high
Mm,
traffic right there, do you really want your kids to be in your front yard where there's
mm.
people flying through your house?
No.
Now, if another house is, let's say, same square footage, but it's not in a front of a double yellow lane, that has a higher value than that house that has a double yellow lane.
Mm,
See,
mm,
like these are factors that it's impossible for each home to be exactly the same.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even like my new like construction that I'm here right now, my view is very different from my neighbor's
Hmm.
view, right? And the
Yeah.
views, as we know, affects the price, right? So, it's not like a commodity. It's not like
Hmm.
a car per se, because you don't
Hmm.
need someone like Tommy Tran to help you buy a car, because you really can read every damn thing about that car and just go there and be like, you know what? I want this car, like from the dealership. You don't need me for that. But you will need me for the biggest investment of your life, when the house,
Hmm.
every damn house is different. Every damn house is different. How do you know which house is good, bro? Like every damn house is different.
Hmm. So yeah, no, let's open up to Q&A. I know there's a lot of people here. I'm sure people have questions. Feel free to unmute and also show your face if you want to say hi.
Hey,
Um,
everybody. I see Renee right there with the New York hat. Are you from New York?
No, I'm just a fan.
Oh, it's okay. I have a New York hat too. That's I was about to put it on.
Okay.
she actually lives in India, actually.
Really?
So yeah, you're international speaker right
What? That's amazing. Hi, Renee. Glad you could
Hi.
join.
Oh,
Yes.
we did have one question. Who's X 25 7,311? But they said, have you seen other people pursue the same path, um, but failed? And what were their mistakes?
Um, so I've seen like more so mistakes that have been made. Um, I'll give you an example. When I went to get my real estate license, right? There were many people in there, and there was one gentleman that he literally shared with us his story and why he's getting a real estate license. He said like it was like during the time that of the Great Recession. He's a builder. He said, "I'm a builder." But during the Great Recession, what happened was that he would build homes, right? And you know how they always teach you put a little bit of equity, right? And then roll it over to the next one and then roll to the next one, right? What I can tell you is that homes are a liability until you fully pay them off, okay? Because you have a mortgage. The bank is ultimately the owner of that house until you pay them off fully, right? So it's a liability. So what happened with this guy is basically he built like 3 or 4 homes and put a certain amount down. But then because of the Great Recession, nobody was buying home, Davidson, and the bank repossessed him, took all of his homes, took his home that he lived in. He lost everything, and he filed for bankruptcy, and he was literally in tears. He was in tears because he made a great mistake listening to what Wall Street was teaching them. So I would say more so it wasn't like what I went through, because everybody's sort of path or journey is different. But I got to see in front of me people that have stepped on traps or landmines, and I was able to like, learn from that.
Yeah,
I
thank you
hope
for
that
sharing.
I hope that answered
Yes.
that question.
Yeah, I think there's two types of people, right? I think there's people that learn the hard way and they fail, and there's people like you who learn from other people's mistakes, right? Two very different breeds of people. So it
Yeah,
sounds
and I
like
see
you're
the
smart
guy
enough.
jumping and he's gonna hit that mud right there. I'm not gonna go walk around it.
Looks like Brendan also has a question. Well, there you go.
Hey,
Hey
Brendan.
Tommy, hey Davidson, thanks for having us here. Very uh, great info session for us. But I have a quick question. I'm a person that knows for a lot of people who are from low income background. I come from a low income background as well, so you might know a little bit about this. But what are your thoughts about potentially purchasing, an income restricted home? I know that comes with a ton of deed restrictions. So, I'm just wondering, have you had any experience with that? And do you have any thoughts to that because of the deed restrictions opposed to, just doing something more conventionally?
So Brendan, what state? You're talking about New Jersey or what state?
Either way, but I'm a Pennsylvania real estate agent.
Okay. So in New Jersey, are you talking about rent control properties?
You, I'm not sure if Jersey has the ability. You have the ability to purchase homes on income restrictions, but I know there are rent uh restrictive.
Okay. So you're talking about basically they have these programs, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Where low income families get a first shot, right,
yeah.
at buying versus someone that's has more or bigger, deeper pockets, right?
Right,
Is that what you're saying?
right.
Okay. All right. So my friend that's chasing a unicorn, like I'm not gonna tell you to chase a unicorn, but I will tell you or share with you a different strategy. Okay. I come from like the same humble beginning as you, you know. I didn't have any money. Okay. But what I did was, you know, like we go back to reputation, Brandon, right? So if let's say, for example, you know, three or four guys, right? Or three or four people that you're really good friends with, right? Each one of you have, let's say, $20,000, right? You can't do much with $20,000, but if you leverage that three-person, that's
Right.
$60,000, okay? And you have to kind of obviously, you know, and I could work with you, you know, because we're brothers. We set up a MOU, a memorandum of understanding. We pool our resources together and we buy those homes together. Okay.
Right.
Then afterwards, just like I talked to Davidson, right? That's $60,000. Let's say, brother, you go in there, you renovate a little bit and you rent it out. In a few years, you sell it, right? You could 2x that. Let's just say from 60 to 120, right? And you're still cool with these guys, right? You say, hey, listen, guys, let's roll that money from 120. Let's roll it again. If that strategy works right there, why change it, right? So what you do is you roll that money over, and like in 5 flips, you'll make $1 million.
Right. I have one more question that follows kind of like what you just talked about. I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on, structuring an LLC? You have any thoughts around that? I know it's a very broad question, but
Yeah,
structuring an LLC with partners and then structuring an LLC with yourself or having, a holding company. I'm just wondering, how do you kind of should
yeah, no problem. So an LLC, obviously, people always teach you like, hey, listen, an LLC. But did you know that if you create an LLC and buy a home, it's pretty much like very difficult. Not saying you go to the bank and you try to get a damn mortgage, a refinance or a mortgage on that. Like, good luck, good luck. They're not gonna give it to you. But if the three of you guys go and buy that home, we're going back to that example. You go buy that home, right? And let's just say the home you bought for 300 now is worth $500,000. Now, if you go, all the three of you guys, and ask for a HELOC, okay, they will they will give it to you. But if it's under LLC, most banks won't give it to you because it's considered commercial.
Right.
Now, Brandon, once you get into the 10, maybe like once you get into the 20 to 50 units, then I'm like, you know what? Start putting in LLCs. But you have an attorney, you have homeowners insurance. What are you afraid of,
Right.
right? So these are things that people make things way more complicated than it really is. If you have a 200 unit apartment or something like that, Brandon, like, hey, listen, make sure you get an LLC in case that one of those 200 people sue you or whatever the case may be, right? But if you have a couple of homes like most people do, you don't need an LLC. You can go with your bro and just proceed with the purchase. But if
Gotcha.
you want to make an LLC on a side note, you could.
Right. I gotcha. Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
If there's no questions, I got one more. I'm wondering, do you currently use any type of generative AI or chat GPT to kind of help you with your business? I'm just wondering, what kind of advice do you have for
Oh
us?
my God, man. Come on, man. I'm like a Stone Age dinosaur, man. So, like Davidson used AI. I was like so impressed, man. Like, so, my brother, I'm not technology advanced like that, but certainly if you want to, work with me so we can be more advanced technology wise, I'd love to do that.
I gotcha. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Someone asked, if you have more than one property, should you be using one of the properties as collateral to get another property?
Um, so for me, I could only talk about my personal experience. So if you go to the bank, what they're gonna propose is that that property is like if you go for it depends on what you want to do. Like for example, if it's a HELOC, then they want your main resident home as you know you can take out the HELOC from that. If you let's say for example have a property and it's investment property and you still have a little bit of a mortgage, you can refinance and then take some of that money out. Does that make sense?
Do you guys want to unmute? I know I still don't know who the M that X20 that person is. The
MD?
person that asked the question. Yeah, who do you know who that is?
I don't know. So
Uh, Makes sense.
yeah, so like if you
Okay.
want to unlock some of the profit or money, you can refinance and then they'll give you more money out of it. I've done that.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I guess we'll end it soon. I know I originally booked it for an hour, but it seems like everyone is just captivated by what you're saying. So, Ali and Gerald, everyone else, if any takeaways or any last minute words you guys want to say?
Oh, you know what, like if you don't mind, I'll just say one last thing. Um Honestly, when I went into this business in real estate, I did it like as a hobby per se, but I've learned so much from it that if you look at real estate as a business, just like you would like when you open up a restaurant or anything else of that sort, right? You'll see that you can make tremendous amount of like progress as well as you'll be able to um, expedite your earning power if you're able to do that. Look at real estate as not just oh I'm buying a home or stuff like that, but look at it as a business. You will see that you'll be
Mm,
able to become like a multimillionaire in like a very
mm,
short amount of time. When I say
mm,
short amount of time, I'm talking about like 5, 10 years. Okay, it's not like over
mm,
a month or something like that in crypto. But look at real estate
mm.
as a business, plan it out, and if you need help, definitely reach out to me. I could work with you. Um, like I said, I am most happy when I help you to make money because I will make money. You are a return customer, and we can make money together. That's my motto.
Amazing. So many takeaways. So let me try to bottom line like a lot of my takeaways because there was a lot. So what I wrote down was, well, first, like, even though you are very confident, you also have humility, right? So that's inspiring to be that confident, but equally have the humility to be able to learn from others and learn from people's mistakes. Also here, like a sense of like self-worth, right? Like you're able to, even though like you're not the smartest person, you still have a vision, you have a clear plan, like you have a strategy on how to get to where you want. I also hear like equal, like half of it is the analysis and analyzing, like, okay, is it near a train station? Is it like, can I stick it through? Can I see it 5 years out, right? So you're not thinking like short term, you're thinking, 3, 5 years out. Also, I also hear like just having like a strong business mindset, right? Like, how can I use this as a vehicle to reach my goals, my dreams, right? How can I use real estate to ultimately create the life that I want, right? Versus just doing what everyone else is doing. So I'm also hearing, do not follow the herd mentality, right? Like it takes risk. It takes sometimes taking a chance when other people might not see it, right? It's like your story with the guy that blocked the whole block was really inspiring. Also here, just like building genuine, authentic relationships. Like you are very true to who you are. Like you're not trying to front. You're like, you just tell how it is. Like you're not telling people what they want to hear, but you tell people like the truth, right? Like the honest truth, even if it means like, you're not going to win that deal, but they trust you long term. I also hear like just being resourceful, being creative, being able to pull your resources together, especially if if you do come from humble beginnings like yourself. And then I also hear like the value of your reputation, right? How do I, do everything in my power to make sure that I'm like actually executing on what I say I'm going to do. So then because of that compound interest of trust, like you're getting referrals to people that normally most people wouldn't have access to, right? With the VP of Goldman Sachs, like the doctor networks, the supermodel. And then I also hear like the value that you're adding to your clients, right? Saving them time, saving them headaches, saving like just like clearly because you're passionate about it. It shows in the way you speak about real estate, but it also shows in the value that you're providing, right? These little nuances that just come with being in the industry for as long as you have. And then also the being able to have a strong mindset, right? Being able to have resilience, have grit, be able to see, 5 steps ahead where people are so focused on like looking at interest rates all the time, or they're just looking at like, trying to protect themselves instead of you like actually like putting yourself out there so that you can actually have exponential returns versus people are just trying to like, get the 5% or the 2%, which is what everyone else does with their 401k and their savings. Is there anything else I missed that you want to add to wrap us up?
No, it's pretty much, like you said, but one emphasis that I would say is like, it takes courage. It really does take courage to, reach or get to the top. I'm not like the top of my pinnacle where I want to be yet, but I went from, absolutely from the bottom of the bottom. So, I encourage you guys to, find courage in what you're doing, what you're passionate about. And, it only costs like 15, 16 bucks to subscribe on YouTube Red, right? I should be their sponsor, but it really, it really helped me to build on that courage and know that, I can do this and other people have done it. And you've seen me do it. I'm not anything special. I want to just emphasize that I'm not anything special, but what I did was, very achievable for all of you guys here, but it does take courage to be able to do that.
Thank you so much, Tommy.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a blessed evening.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Thank you so much, Davidson, for setting this up.
Thank you, Eric.
Take care.
Take care.
Good job, Tommy. Take my money. I'm ready to sign up with you.
I'll take
see
it
you
this
Saturday.
weekend.
I'll bring
yeah,
my money with me this Saturday.
All right. I'll
That's
see
funny.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take
That's my
money.
neighbor.